Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode. Rolando, in the headquarters of your mind, which emotion do you think has complete charge over your emotional system?
I'm probably going to say anger. I feel like anger is probably the one that drives me the most.
Okay, why is that?
According to my therapist, I have anger issues. So that might be why.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
And because I'm pretty hot-headed. Like I'm pretty quick to like explode and stuff.
Okay.
I hide it so well on this podcast. So
right. Do you?
I think I do.
No, you do. You do. Okay. Can you guess what mine is? I feel like you might be able to. At least what I would say.
I was gonna say sadness.
It is sadness.
Oh my God. It sounds so mean to say, but I just assumed.
No. I think I'm very in touch with my emotions. And I think that I welcome in probably sadness more than others do, right? I don't think I suffer from repression. Let's say that.
Right.
So,
the other emotion, it might maybe not anger for me. It actually might be disgust, though.
Okay, I could see that for you.
I could see that for me as well.
I mean, I feel all of these pretty frequently, but if we were to incorporate the new emotions, I absolutely think anxiety is present at the helm.
Yeah, no. Anxiety for me as well, yeah.
Yeah. But obviously we're dancing around it. Today we're talking about Inside Out, Pixar's Inside Out film, and the new revival, technically a sequel, of the Inside Out property, Inside Out 2, which was a major hit. It pretty much saved the American box office. So good for that.
See.
We'll see how it continues from here. But we are without Eddie Z today, and we are definitely feeling sadness there. So we miss you, Eddie Z.
Yes. Whose fault is that he's not here?
It is mine, because if you can't tell, I was quite sick and I had to delay the recording. So take full blame for that. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Eddie. Don't put a curse on me. All right, let's get into it. I'm Nicole.
I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals,
an original podcast
about unoriginality. Well, the reason why I'm sick is because I had a very lovely beach weekend, but I saw my niece and nephew during it. And of course, children are cesspools of germs. And so I noticed the moment I saw them that they had runny noses. I'm like, oh God, I got to be careful. I was careful, but my girlfriend got it and then I got it. So
wait, how would you be careful? Like, what would you have done differently to not gotten
no hugs,
sick?
No kisses.
Wow, you didn't hug or kiss your your niece
my niece and nephew? Not really. I tried my hardest not to. Like maybe like a leg hug, when they hold your legs and then, you tap their back with, but not like a full embrace.
I was going to say, why has Pixar not done a movie about like the immune system? But that's because DreamWorks did it with Osmosis Jones.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was DreamWorks?
I'm pretty sure that was DreamWorks.
Wow. And I've heard that movie was actually pretty biologically accurate.
Oh, okay. I'm sure it was. Just like how Inside Out is pretty accurate about like how our mind works. I'm sure.
Surprisingly though, Pete Docter, who came up with this, he consulted psychologists and neuroscientists because he really wanted to do the best job he could in a fantasy aspect of portraying this.
But the concept of core memories is just not found in psychology at all.
I think that's where the creativity comes in, right?
I'm just saying, but that is a crux of the first film, and it's just like, yeah, I base this off of reality. It's just like, yeah, except like the entirety of like the main storyline.
I suppose. I mean, can't we just have a nice blend of research and reality and fantasy here?
I feel like he just said, I did some research into this to make it sound more legit. But now I feel like there's a whole slew of people who think this is how the brain works. Not that there's like little creatures like controlling our emotions, but like this idea of like core memories being like a real thing. I got into an actual argument with Eddie about this because he's just like, no, core memories are real because like think of trauma. That's like a form of core memory. I'm just like, that is different.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's separate from the movie, though, just because some people would be like, oh, yeah, no, I have 5 emotions running around in my brain is not necessarily the movie's fault. Although I think core memories are probably very closely related to something, the name I can't think of. Like, it's not core memories, but it's maybe this, Eddie's onto something with relating it to, say, trauma and whatnot. Alas, so I don't know much about the brain, so I'm going to just stop that there. But in part
I
of my
almost took one
research,
semester of psychology.
yeah,
And that was
same.
my freshman year, and I was always hungover in class.
Yeah, my professor was horrible, so I didn't retain any of that. So your teachers really matter. It's not the subject matter. It's the teachers.
Most certainly true.
Yes. I definitely, though, think that the fact that it took 5.5 years for him to work on this film is at least somewhat of a sign of how much he tried to really make it as quote unquote scientifically accurate as he could. But of course, creative liberties. So 5.5 years, though, that's a pretty long time for Pixar. And this is a film that was made by Pete Docter, who I think is responsible for some of the most emotional of the Pixar movies. He also made Monsters Incorporated. He made
Whack.
Up.
That was good.
And he made Soul, which I actually was a little disappointed by Soul.
I liked it, but I'm also glad I didn't pay for it. I saw it at home. Like, because it was during the pandemic, so it got released straight to... I feel like the ending was kind of a little bit weak, is where it comes. Like, it literally kind of just ended abruptly a little bit, in my opinion.
I think I was with the movie until someone turned into a cat. And I don't know. The movie, sometimes Pete Docter has to like take these profound ideas that he comes up with and like, make a pretty generic, like Hollywood, 8-act story, not 8-act, 8-point story structure out of it, especially in Up, like when there's a need for a villain and the whole talking dog thing, that doesn't work for me. But of course you can't have a children's movie about like this guy floating off and just trying to like heal his own pain from losing his wife. Like they needed something more substantial. But it sucks because I think Up suffers for that. I think Soul suffered for the same way. I think Monsters, Inc. and Inside Out are kind of like the two perfect blends of needing a story and needing kids to, follow this classic story structure along with some really profound emotions for a children's movie.
I mean, I don't care for Monsters, Inc. Like, I just never did. And it's also, like, what a weak replacement for Disney World. Like, they took away Alien Invasion. And they gave us Stitch's Invasion, which I was just like, all right, fine. We cutesied it up. But then to remove that and make us do the Laugh Factory from Monsters, Inc., I was just like, no, never.
Yeah.
I feel like that has burnt me because like we talked about Monsters, Inc. on the podcast and then I went to see the ride and I'm just like, no, never. You know what? I take it back. Anything positive that said Monsters, Inc., I take it back.
Wow. It was that bad for an experience, huh?
Oh, it was, yeah. And they didn't take any of my knock-knock jokes.
Oh, well, then that's the real reason.
So a little personal vendetta there.
I think the real travesty is the fact that this is a completely different studio, but that they removed the Back to the Future ride and put in a Simpsons one. And I'm a fan of the Simpsons, but that ride is just not good.
Oh, I've never been on either.
Oh.
My family was more Disney, right?
Okay.
And anytime we went to Universal, it was always Islands of Adventure.
Even before rides. Harry Potter? Or?
Oh, yeah, even before Harry Potter. Are you kidding me? Before Harry Potter, like, the rides in Islands of Adventure were kick-ass. They still are, but, like, there were more roller coasters prior, right? Like, Dueling Dragons was a good one. The Hulk is still a good one. Velociraptor is actually really great, though, so I can't...
Oh, you went on that?
Nice. Oh, I loved it. I want to go bad just for the ride.
Did you go on Tron, or was that not up?
Oh my God, don't even get me started. So Eddie and I went to Disney World last year. We were in Magic Kingdom the day before it opened.
Oh my God.
We missed it by one day.
That's terrible.
I was livid and I was screaming at all the children I was with. Scared them.
It's your fault. Damn, that sucks.
I know, but...
And you didn't get to go on Guardians because you didn't go to Epcot, did you?
Yeah, I didn't go to Epcot. I don't even think... It might not have been opened yet, to be honest. I don't remember.
I think it was. You went last year?
It went last April.
Yeah, it was open because it was open when I went in 2022.
Okay,
so.
all right. Yeah, we were with a family, so there wasn't going to be. I don't know how comfortable Eddie would have gotten, getting drunk, walking around Epcot.
That
But
is
that's my
frustrating.
goal because I've been. Oh yeah, I mean, I've been seeing people on TikTok just post like do videos of like this is my first drink at Epcot, and then by the end they're just wasted.
Yeah, I mean,
Try to make it around the world. I mean, they spent like about $300. It was worth it. I would totally spend that. Drop that. I would drop more just to be able to drink around the Epcot World Pavilion.
Epcot it's a nice blend of that, but they actually have good rides. The Ratatouille ride is great.
I don't believe that for 1 second.
Oh, I thought it
I
was
also,
great, but I
I've
love
never seen
Ratatouille.
I've
Oh, you've never seen
I've never
Ratatouille?
seen Ratatouille. I have no interest in seeing a rat cook food, and I think the animation style is kind of ugly. I don't like the animation design.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre premise for a movie, and yet, in my opinion, it really, really works, and it took me by surprise. And the whole message is like, don't let anyone tell you what you can do.
I
Don't let
will
anyone tell you who you could be.
I'm going to tell a rat what it can be, and it's just like it's a rat, and it does not belong in the kitchen. That's a Pixar movie, right?
That is Pixar. It's one of my top 5, I think. So
Shut up.
I think it's
what are your top
great.
5 Pixar movies?
Okay, so Inside Out is one of them.
Okay, you don't have to give me an
Inside
order. That's
Out.
fine. Yeah.
This is not an order, but it's Inside Out, Coco, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, and probably Toy Story 2.
Oh, okay. Interesting. The ones that for me come to mind are my top 5 would probably be Luca is in that top 5 because I think it's like the gayest of the Pixar movies without ever having to say the word gay. I did like Coco. Toy Story 2 is also probably on that list for me. I'm like looking through them to see like which ones like really have The Incredibles.
Incredibles is great. That's top 10.
And I can't think of a fourth at the moment.
Okay. So
Maybe
Inside Out
WALL-E.
doesn't make it.
Inside Out is pretty close. Like Inside Out for sure is top 10. I would agree.
Okay,
As is Finding Nemo, right?
Yeah.
But some of these, I think maybe it's the subject matters that end up like weighing, skewing me. Like I think WALL-E is such a beautiful film, and it's so little dialogue for the most part, right?
Yeah, I love WALL-E.
And it's just such a wonderful film. I think the animation is spectacular. For Luca, I loved it because it's like a queer love story without ever saying the word gay. But I still stand by this. Like you had the two little old ladies when they revealed themselves to be like sea people. It's just like the lesbian couple, showing the world that they are lesbians this whole time. I loved it. I forgot what the other ones I mentioned, but yeah. I mean, look, Pixar has had good movies. Pixar has had some clunkers. Cars, we'll never speak of them.
Even though you've never seen Cars till this
And I will never will. And I never will.
So I've seen every single Pixar movie, but Cars has its fan base. I'm not part of that. I think my least favorite was Onward because I don't think it didn't speak to me.
It spoke to me, but I didn't care for it.
Yeah. And honestly, I think Inside Out and Coco were kind of like the peak of the Pixar moment, and it's been struggling ever since those two films to really regain that. Maybe Luca's an exception. I need to rewatch Luca. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it.
Oh, I loved it so much. It was such a good movie.
Yeah, I actually really do want to watch it again. But like Elemental, it's good, but it's not of that caliber that like WALL-E and Finding Nemo and all of like those movies are.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the more recent ones too that I'm forgetting? I did not enjoy Toy Story 4.
They're sequels, basically, right?
Yeah, they're pretty much
Lightyear.
I did not enjoy Lightyear. I did that episode alone.
I've still yet to see Lightyear. I haven't watched it yet. And it's a shame because I like Chris Evans,
great.
right? But he's not in the movie. He's just doing the voice. Turning Red, I liked.
Turning Red was great.
Red was good. So,
but now they're focusing more on these franchise continuations and stuff. So I don't know. It's just not the same because also when Pixar came out and released that content, they really had no one to compete with them. Now you got Illumination competing with you. You got the brand new like animation styles that Spider-Verse kind of came up with, and that all of these like animations being pushed into a different realm. And I'm wondering if Pixar can compete with that is all.
I think Pixar can. I just think the owner, the proprietor, Disney, is not letting them.
True. I will say
I think
too.
That's ultimately what the problem is. Because Disney's also kind of suffering with this too, right? Like they are also going away from original Disney movies in lieu of sequels, right? So they're working. Moana 2, for example, was supposed to be like a directed DVD sequel that the studio has decided to like make a theatrical release and like have Dwayne the Rock Johnson and the young woman from Mean Girls, I forgot her name. I pronounced it aioli, and people made fun of me on TikTok, so I won't do that again.
Carvalho, I like really Carvalho or something, but yeah.
And so that's an example. I think they're working on another Frozen. I might be mistaken on this, but yeah, it's they're giving us just like sequels and stuff, and that's because Disney is no longer an innovator. They're just looking to make a quick buck.
Yeah, it's a shame. I'm hearing that that's a trajectory that both of these companies are going in, and it's just really unfortunate.
Well, yeah, but that's because again, Disney owns Pixar.
Yeah.
So like they're just gonna do whatever the board tells them. Same thing. I mean, this same could be said about Marvel and Lucasfilm, right? Like they're not innovating like they had originally because Disney's not letting them.
Man, grim times ahead, honestly, because also with like the rebirth of DC movies, so we're getting another Superman movie. We're gonna get, I think, another Green Lantern movie or something. It's like, ugh. When are we going to get something new and exciting?
Well, I'll give DC this. They, at least when they're trying to tell some stories, they do sometimes try to take risks. Not all the time, but sometimes they do. And, you know, sometimes you get like good DC movies that are just weird and different, right?
Yeah, especially when you got, what's his name at the helm? Zack Snyder. All right, so maybe we should get
Zack
back
Snyder
on track.
Is no longer on the helm. It's
well, he was, but we haven't seen any results yet of the new guy.
Oh no, yeah, we haven't, and you know, we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed for DC fans because it's not been a good time for them. But okay, let's get back on track with Inside Out. Pete Docter, by the way, he made this. He made Soul, and now he's the chief creative officer of Pixar. So he's not really making movies anymore. And he didn't make Inside Out 2. That actually was done by Kelsey Mann, who I think this was like her first film actually for Pixar. So a lot of these people...
Kelsey Mann is a guy.
Sorry. Whoops. A lot of the people that are now in charge of making these films for Pixar are not the original guys, you know, the guys who like build Pixar, and a lot of them have been ousted and stuff. So I don't think John Lasseter is not there anymore because of complaints about his conduct.
Wait, was he just like
inappropriate?
A tyrant? Oh, was he really?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, that's
I don't believe Andrew Stanton's there. Brad Bird's not there. So a lot of these people who created these iconic things for Pixar have left, but Pete Docter remains. Okay, Inside Out came out in June. No, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, it did come out in June, I think, of 2015 or perhaps May. The Cannes debut came out in May.
2015.
Yeah, it had a budget of $175 million and it grossed $858 million. And the new movie is actually very close to that number, which is crazy. So what is Inside Out about? If you don't know, it's about a little girl named Riley, and we pretty much see inside her mind and the emotions that control her whole system. There's 5 predominantly. The first one that came to existence for her is joy. Then the next emotion that she feels that comes into existence is sadness, followed by fear, disgust, and anger. And joy pretty much runs the ship that is Riley. She's her main leader of her emotions. And she kind of also, everybody looks to Joy in order to help make sure and ensue that Riley is safe and well and just happy. And what they want more than anything, especially Joy, is for Riley to be happy. So we see in the beginning her whole, growing up until the age of 11 when she has to move from her beloved Minnesota to San Francisco and how intense that is for Riley. She starts to experience, though, other emotions. It's personified by the fact that sadness kind of starts interjecting herself where she shouldn't be. But it's because Riley is experiencing a lot of emotions and sadness just feels called to kind of express them for her. There's all these other things too about how the brain works. Like there's core memories. A lot of the things that are experienced get turned into color orbs. And then at the end of the day, they get sent into long-term memory every night. Her core memories take forms of personalities, and they have 5 floating islands, which is hockey, silly, like goofball island, hockey island, family island, friendship island, and I forgot the last one.
Imagination Land?
It might be. These are all the core things that make, Riley at this young age of 11. While she's moving, in the midst of moving and going to a new school, and she starts to express more of her sadness, there kind of becomes a, what's the word? Like, not even like conflict between joy and sadness, but they pretty much get sucked into the back of Riley's mind, and they're no longer, like the deep consciousness. I think so. And so they're not there anymore in headquarters, ruling her emotions. Now it's fear, disgust, and anger. And so the whole movie is pretty much now Joy and Sadness trying to make their way back to headquarters so that they can help Riley express herself with Joy and Sadness. And Joy learning a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
They meet a couple of different parts of her, subconsciousness. Particularly, they meet up with Bing Bong, who is Riley's old imaginary friend that's just kind of wandering her subconsciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We see all like the reasons why a song will pop into your head, like the Triple Dent Gum commercial gag. And we see who's responsible for dreams, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's very light and comedic, but it gets very emotional at the same time. Did you see this movie in theaters?
I think I did. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did. 2005 was how long ago?
2015, 9 years ago.
9 years ago. So yeah, I was with Eddie, so most likely I saw this already in theaters.
Okay. How long you guys have been together for 9 years?
We've been together for 10.
Wow, that's amazing. Aw.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw this in theaters. I off the top of my head, I do not remember though.
Okay. I did not see this in theaters.
No, wow.
Yeah, I actually missed this and Coco. I think I was just too busy being in college and working and stuff that I don't know. I just didn't. There were a couple of big movies that I missed around that time.
Yeah, Coco I saw at home, not in theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the moment I saw Inside Out, I loved it, and I was like a crying mess throughout most of it. So, did you cry?
Yeah, when Bing Bong dies, I did cry. Or I dropped a couple of tears. I shed a couple of tears.
Spoiler alert.
A movie that's almost 10 years old that has a sequel. You have it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this episode, presumably you want to hear about the sequel and you've seen the original. But yes, Bing Bong dying is or at least fading away, because what happens is that they get kind of stuck where, the memories that they throw out that Riley doesn't need anymore, and then they just fade away and they exit her mind. They get stuck down there, and a way for them to escape is to utilize, this machine or whatever. Yeah, this rocket ship that, whatever. If he
sacrifices himself to make sure that Joy can make it to the panel, and it's like a beautiful sacrifice. He sees himself disappearing, so he knows like his time is up, and like he helps her get there. And yeah, it was such a beautiful scene and stuff. And it's like this is an imaginary creature, and yet you're crying because like it was handled so well, right? And I will give credit for this movie. Like, this movie understands storytelling.
Yeah, and then also what it stands for is so beautiful.
What does it stand for?
Well, the fact that these imaginary friend, that loss of innocence, the things that you can't help but forget as you grow up and as time goes on.
Yes, I thought you were talking about like the movie itself, like what at its core message it's about. It's just like that we cannot be just full of joy all the time. That this movie is really telling us is like we have to embrace all our aspects of our emotions, which I thought was a beautiful message, right? Because and this is kudos to casting Amy Poehler, because she has kind of that infectious joy in her performances. Especially since I know her mostly from Parks and Rec, right? Like that joy and Leslie Knope go hand in hand. And seeing her, and again, also Phyllis
from The Office.
Her name is also Phyllis something.
Phyllis Smith.
Phyllis Smith. Okay, yeah, Phyllis Smith is also great casting because there is something so in her delivery that is sad. And there was also, I'm thinking now to Phyllis from The Office, there was something sad about that character also, right? And so
Yeah.
perfect casting and the performances are great, but I think also just kind of the story of trying to coexist and trying to find balance. I think it was very well told. I actually, my only qualm with the movie comes to the fact that like I think this movie actually would have maybe, and you can argue me on this, would have been stronger if Riley was a boy.
Okay, why is
Because boys are always told to suppress their feelings, and I think girls are often taught that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to be sad and stuff, right? Where boys are not. And I think this actually message might have been something if it was a boy main character, a boy that we're controlling and stuff, like that might have been maybe a little bit more impactful. And then not to say that I don't think the movie is not. I think the movie is great. I love watching Riley and like kind of going through her emotions. But I do think if Riley was a boy, there might have been a little bit more sting to that kind of message because like, you know, boys are often taught to just like suppress your, don't cry, boys don't cry and stuff, right? And I think ultimately this is about a girl who has to like just shut down and cry for the feelings that she is bottling up. But that's just me. That's just my read, right? I'm not saying that this movie was not good because of that. I think this movie's great. But I think it might have been just a little bit stronger if it was in fact a boy.
I mean, that you make a good point for that in terms of at least like how people should be receiving it, or maybe the fact that boys could see that and relate to it, and maybe then let some flood of emotions go through their bodies. It's interesting though, because there's very few Pixar main characters that are girls. And yet here's one where we have one, and then and then it's like, oh man, this is the story that perhaps it would have been better for a boy. I mean, can we think of other? Now we have Turning Red, so
Brave.
there's her. We have Brave.
Inside Out, yeah. Joy is
Joy
/
Riley. Yeah.
Is Riley the main character though? It's Joy. Joy is the main character.
Yeah,
but Joy is coded as female.
She's coded as female, but it's also they're controlling. You know, we're also rooting for Riley. All these emotions are just personifications of this girl Riley, so I think they're kind of one and the same.
The Incredibles 2.
I saw that once.
Yeah, The Incredibles 2, Mrs. Incredible is the main character. It's her story.
Yeah, because she has to,
Elemental is also another one that's female.
Yeah, so out of
you're right.
like 26 movies,
like most of them tend to be boys.
Yeah, and it's great too because in a weird way, Inside Out 2 is kind of a reverted buddy film where it's like they can't stand each other, but then they grow to realize how much they need each other.
Yeah.
And the message of realizing that joy and sadness goes hand in hand and that you must embrace it to fully feel something else, you know, just like avoiding repression and realizing how important it is to let all of those things happen within your body is quite beautiful for not only the children watching, but for the adults. It's actually an incredibly complex film, and I don't think many kids could understand a lot of what's going on in the film in a deeper level.
Okay. Wow. Way to call children dummies.
I never called any child a dummy.
I don't know. I actually think the way they portray these things, I think kids kind of get it, to be quite honest. Like maybe they don't. I think you're not wrong. Like in which like maybe they don't understand the depths of it. Yeah. But I do think in how they portray like dreams, how they portray deleting of memories and stuff. I think kids get it. I think kids, I actually do think they did a really
Let's define
nice job.
Children, because maybe I'm thinking of my niece and my nephew, but maybe, you know.
I'm thinking like
11-year-olds who are watching this, they probably get it.
Oh, I was going to go as low as like probably 5-year-olds, 5 and 6-year-olds.
I don't know. I mean, I think they could understand and follow along, but when they get older, it's going to be something that's going to hit them even deeper.
Sure, but I think, I don't know. The movie wasn't that deep. It just
I
like
don't.
a
I
lot of it,
feel like
like a
for a
lot of it,
child's movie, this movie's pretty deep.
a lot of it is puns. The Inside Out and Inside Out 2 are movies that just run on puns. Like the Thought Train, for example.
Yes, I mean, yeah, and
Number
they're all just a bunch
number
of
two,
metaphors for
right?
things that
But
we
like
experience. But
exactly, but I think because of like how they're able to portray that in a visual sense, it may. I think that's why kids are able to grasp these ideas. You know, they're. I think that's why kids are able to like kind of connect these ideas to what is being told as a story. So I don't think it's just following along the story. I think overall, like what it's trying to tell us about the mind, even though, as I have stated, completely concocted by this director and not based on any reality. I do think that kids get it and stuff. Like the idea, like, you know, when they see the memories playing back and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I give children a little bit more credit. And I think that's a bonus for this film. Like being able to take these abstract ideas and kind of turning them into something digestible for children and families.
hmm. Okay, I mean, I think that a film portraying, you know, a person who's completely disconnected from themselves and emotions is pretty. I applaud them for going there because not a lot of movies before that have gone. And I think it's a lot. Maybe I am underestimating children myself when I'm saying that it goes over their heads, but I do think it's clever at the end of the day. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
not like the deepest thing in the world, but and I think that the message of just maintaining an emotional balance and making sure in order to become a balanced human being that you must embrace all of these emotions is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I just kind of I like it because also she like, you know, Joy wanting the best for Riley and wanting her to be happy makes she's actually kind of the villain of the movie because she's the whole reason why everything happened. Like she's the reason that everything got fucked up. And it's completely insane and neurotic to think that you could be happy all the time, you know.
Right. And I think that's again, from a storytelling point of view, like they did this beautiful thing where our protagonist reveals themselves to be the antagonist of the journey, right? Because
Yeah.
the antagonist for the beginning of the film is pointed to be sadness, right? Like sadness is changing things, and so sadness is the bad guy. And then we realize just like, oh, it's really you, Joy. Joy, you're not able to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's
Ignorant at the end of the day, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, totally. You know, it's a look. Inside Out is for sure like a great film, and it's a movie that when I saw it, I loved it. I've only seen it. I only rewatched it for the second time, like for the podcast. Right, I only saw it once and then
Same.
and let it go, and then I rewatched it for the podcast, and I was just like, no, it still holds up. It's still good. The Bing Eddie says upon rewatch, the Bing Bong scene didn't hit as hard. I disagree. I still think even knowing it's coming, it still hit. It still
Yeah.
slaps.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's a wonderfully clever film, and I think casting top notch. I think the voice acting in it is so wonderful, and yeah. Like this is for sure top Pixar, right? And I could see why, as a studio, Disney was just like, all right, well, we got to go back to Inside Out. What more can you give us?
It's true. And they did kind of set it up at the end for a sequel with the puberty button. So,
Yeah, they did. They I guess we should have seen it possibly coming that they were open to a sequel.
yeah. So then that's where Inside Out 2 pretty much comes into the fray. 9 whole years later, it was first announced 2 years ago at a Disney Expo.
Okay, so they moved way faster than the first one.
Yeah, seriously. But you know, maybe this is controversial to say or maybe not. They pretty much had the template already worked out for them in the first one. So,
I
in some
mean,
ways, it's
you
a copy
did.
and paste.
It is, and adding more puns, right? But I think the hard work that they had kind of ahead of them was just like, okay, well, we know the world. What story can we build out of it? And I actually do think it's a little bit of a cop out to just introduce new emotions that aren't necessarily emotions.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Like not for nothing, but like is paranoia really not paranoia? What was it?
So Riley's 13. Let's just talk about it really quick.
Fine, well,
She's about to enter high school.
Spoiler alert,
and
guys.
Now that the puberty alarm that we saw at the end of the film that was installed on their controller, it goes off. And with that, a bunch of new characters arrive: anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui, which is boredom.
It was just those 4? I thought there was one more.
No, it was 4. There was also nostalgia, who kept popping in and out.
Again, is that an emotion?
Is that an emotion? I also was like, okay. It just like. Also, there's this thing that Riley's building a sense of self, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these certain things that she does, like helps her friend out, hugs her parents, whatever. They're all introducing this sense of self for herself. And the sense of self is telling herself that she's a good person. And they've worked really hard for her to have this sense of who she is. These new characters come in, and the whole plot is that pretty much they're like, look, things are more complicated. Puberty requires a little more complex emotions, and we're going to rebuild Riley's sense of self. And so anxiety at the helm decides to, lead this, gets rid of the old sense of self, and then takes all those 5 emotions: joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust, and puts them in the back of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, these characters, the whole movie is them trying to find their way back to headquarters. Right? Been there, done that. But now it's all 5 of them instead of just joy and sadness. Mm-hmm. And now at the helm, we have Riley is just now being identified by her anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui. Mm. Envy, I felt like, was not envy.
Oh my God, thank you. I agree. Like, Envy had one moment of envy, and after that, they kind of just like, she was just like the sidekick.
Yeah, pretty much. She had no strong emotions, and I'm like, why is she even there?
Like, yeah, why? I know why we cast Ayu Adibiri, right? Rising star, and a very like kind of distinct delivery and lines, but like not at all. The character they created here was absolutely kind of just like lackey. It just
completely.
This character was just the lackey of anxiety.
Yeah. I think she should have been desperation or something, like something that just was more true to what she ended up doing, but there was no sense of envy. And again, that's a good way of describing it. She was a sidekick. So there's that. Embarrassment never talks. Embarrassment was good.
I mean, it was a cute emotion. I understood it, and it had a purpose. And I think embarrassment is, I don't know is that an emotion? I guess that is an emotion.
It is, yeah.
It's like a feeling that we get.
It's every so often it comes in waves,
but ennui, how is ennui much different from disgust?
I know. Well, in fact, of the 5 original emotions, I'm like, is disgust such a predominant emotion?
Let's be, agree. Yes, we could make that argument about the first one. Disgust was like kind of the weakest of the emotions.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something that I guess we feel it regularly, but it's not like, I don't know if it's one of my driving. Well, I take that back. For me, sometimes it is, but I think from disgust though, you get like that feeling of like, kind of what ennui does, which is like sarcasm and like kind of, I mean, what else does ennui do?
Just cool. She's cool, relaxed. She regulates them.
Which disgust would do, because disgust would be disgusted by things that are uncool, right? So again, it's just like some of these emotions didn't make sense.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know if we needed a whole roster. We could have just brought in just anxiety.
Yeah, I guess they needed like a sidekick for her or something. But
yeah.
I wanted to say right off the bat, I was very disappointed with that, and just didn't feel like it hit. So the whole thing with Riley's life is that she's going to a weekend ice hockey camp with her 2 best friends, Bree and Grace. And Bree and Grace, during this trip they're en route to the ice hockey camp, and they make the whole announcement that they're going to be at separate schools, but that they can remain friends. And of course, this makes her upset, Riley very upset. But also Riley wants to become a professional ice hockey player, and she wants to take this weekend camp very seriously. And there's this girl that she kind of looks up to, maybe has a crush on, that she wants to be best friends with at the camp. And that scene where she sees her too, me and my girlfriend kind of looked at each other like, oh, maybe she's got the hots for her. Maybe that was us seeing what we wanted to see.
Well, I thought that was going to be the deep, dark secret.
That's what I thought too.
And it turns
And
out
they
it's
didn't
not.
come through with that, which I was also upset by.
Yeah, so was Eddie. Eddie was like quite disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna tell you Eddie's theory. I'll tell you Eddie's theory now. Eddie had the theory that like maybe Riley was a lesbian because everyone else's emotions all correlate to the same gender that the person is, but Riley is the only character that has both male and female genders. So he always posited that possibly this would mean that either Riley was like maybe going to be trans, or I was just like, that's Disney would never. Like,
I know how fucking great,
but maybe lesbian. Sure, I'm sure that's an easier barrier to cross, but not have Riley be trans. Like Disney would just shove this movie, and be like, get the fuck out of here.
It's true. Yeah, they could barely do Strange World without having people lose their minds. So I definitely think that maybe they were like plotting something, or they just put something there and let our imaginations run wild. But I was a little upset that they didn't come into play, because these movies are very traditional in their storytelling, and it's unfortunate when something gets planted and then does not, get brought back or become part of the story. So, because when these five emotions go down, they're like locked in a safe, and in that safe are other like things that are suppressed or something, I believe. Which is the character from the TV show that she used to like. She doesn't want to admit that she likes that character anymore.
Was it a character? I thought it was a video game.
There's the video game guy, but there's also the Pouchy.
Oh, right. That was like Dora the Explorer, kind of.
Yeah.
That character drove me a little bit up the wall, to be quite honest. It wasn't. I think once was enough. I didn't see it like 3 times.
Bluefy or yeah, and Pouchy, yeah. That was also, it was funny, but when that plant came up later in it, I kind of didn't, that wasn't as effective for me.
Absolutely not. No. Look, we could be, all right, I'm going to say it. This movie is weaker than Inside Out. It's still one of the stronger sequels they've had, but it is still a weaker imitation of Inside Out.
I completely agree. I mean, it's the same exact film, right? It's not, it's like, they're like, oh, let's just put them in the dark recesses of Riley's mind, and they have to make their way back. And then the ending of the film is the same, is that we have to balance each other out. So it's not like they added anything new to the commentary. They just put new emotions in there. So it's a little upsetting, because it's like, oh, I've completely seen this film and I'm not really getting anything new. I'm just getting a little bit of an older Riley, and I'm getting emotions that I can connect with and I probably feel more deeply in my life. But it's such a shame, because also Bing Bong was such a great character, and his whole thing, like complete, like his arc it's really beautiful and it's really metaphorical. But Bluefy and Pouchy, they're just there to make sure that they can get out. Like, they're literally just there to sacrifice this for the story.
There is no Bing Bong moment in this film. That's, I think, where I kind of was like a little bit like, that sucks. Like, the whole point of like the Bing Bong moment is so deep, it's so cutting, and the fact that like this film didn't have it was just disappointing. It really bummed me out. And yeah, and I was like kind of just waiting. I was waiting for like kind of that emotional gut punch that I just never got.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the best thing about the movie was anxiety and all of the different things that she was making Riley's subconscious do. Like, she was making Riley's imagination work overtime and come up with like all these different scenarios, right?
Which was great. I mean, yeah, they understood anxiety, like the anxiety, like the panic attack.
Yeah,
like that was another great visual representation of like anxiety just going crazy, trying to just like do everything right. Because I feel like a lot of people have experienced a moment like this, and I think I don't know if we needed to do so many emotions. I think anxiety would have probably been just enough, and maybe just have the emotions that we already do have right now. Maybe they themselves also start to turn and pick sides with anxiety and stuff, right? Like there was opportunity here to write a stronger script that we didn't do, and instead we just packed the script with like a lot of characters that I don't know if we needed.
Yeah. I think though, yeah, I would agree with that. And I also think that one of the strongest aspects of it was the sense of self that anxiety ended up creating, which is anxiety tries her best to get Riley's goal of becoming like the best hockey player, but she makes terrible decisions. Like alienates herself from her friends. She stops like being truthful to who she is. She tries to sneak into the coaches. She does. She successfully sneaks in the coach's room to read her notes about her. And she pushes herself too far. And this all results in a backfire, which is now Riley's telling herself that she's not good enough and that she's not a good person.
Right.
And that there I thought was like, yeah, this is great. Like, I agree that they added in all these other things that, were purely just like convenient, story things to like get them back to the headquarters or just to have other things other than anxiety happening. But you didn't need all those things. Maybe embarrassment, but that's it. Like it felt a little been there, done that. And then it just didn't hit as hard because whenever I felt those emotions in this movie, I was like, okay, I've already felt that in the first one and I felt a little bit stronger. But again, everything with anxiety did work. So
yeah, anxiety was the strongest new player, played by Maya Hawke of Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman fame.
I wonder why a lot of them didn't come back.
Oh, I could tell you why.
Tell me.
So Amy Poehler was signed on to the role with a $5 million contract. Everybody else, $10,000. And Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader were just like, fuck that shit, and did not come back for the role.
$10,000?
$10,000. I think. Oh, I'm sorry, $100,000. Initially, the $10,000 both were paid for the first film, which we know was a juggernaut in terms of money making. So they were offered $100,000, but I'm guessing, comparing that to like, the $5 million that Amy Poehler was getting. And granted, Amy Poehler is the lead, so maybe they don't need to match that. But Bill Hader, who played Fear, and Mindy Kaling, who played Disgust in the original film, well, they had bigger roles in this one. So, they should have gotten a pay bump. And they are bigger names now also. So, yeah, but Lewis Black came back, Phyllis Smith came back, and then we had some new castmates.
$100,000 is insulting.
Yeah, it is a little bit, right? Like, especially for, let's be real, for Mindy Kaling. Like, I think Mindy Kaling does have a distinct voice because the one who replaced her, Lisa Lapri or something? Liza
Lapira, yeah.
She did not come close to like having that same voice. Tony Hale, who I do like, I also don't think delivered Fear as well as Bill Hader did. Like when Bill Hader delivered, you could sense like that terror in his voice that comes from like nonsensical terror, right? Like that terror that we feel that's just like, this makes no sense, but we're still scared. Tony Hale just didn't have that kind of delivery. And again, I like Tony Hale. I love Buster from Arrested Development and from Veep. So that was, that's just that. So yeah, so that's why these castmates didn't return. It was because of pay dispute, I guess. And I think it's kind of, here's my unpopular opinion, but like, I don't know if Amy Poehler deserves $5 million either. I love Amy Poehler, but I do think that Hollywood going for like named celebrities to do voice acting is really hurting animation as a genre. Not even a genre. I'm sorry, as a format, as it's not a genre. It's a medium. And I think it would be great if Hollywood studios, animation studios, return to hiring voice actors and not just personalities.
Yeah. Well, it's Pixar that started that. I feel like with Toy Story having Tom Hanks, who was, he was still one of the biggest actors, but in the 90s was like the biggest actor, and Tim Allen, all those noticeable guys. It was unique then. But now you go and you see any trailer for some like schmaltzy fucking DreamWorks movie, and you see like 10 famous people's names on top of each other.
Yeah, but it's
like, this isn't working for me anymore.
The Lion King had James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons, and I remember though, like it weren't in the marketing material, but it was definitely part of the marketing of the film in terms of like the press's releases.
Right, but James Earl Jones is not Tom Hanks. Is he quite the household name that Tom Hanks
everyone loves
is Jeremy Irons. And
maybe
I don't know.
Jeremy Irons less so. But I think casting in terms of like getting like names for actors, sure. I think when we got Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, right? Because don't discredit Tim Allen. At the time, Tim Allen was like a star.
Tim Allen, Home Improvement, yeah.
So yeah, like I'm just saying, it's just like it's something for sure that Disney has been responsible for.
Yeah. Well, Robin Williams was in Aladdin, but he was like the biggest name there.
Robin Williams
it wasn't like 10 plus people.
But they promoted the shit out of him. And Robin Williams had they had like a very contentious contract, Robin Williams and Disney, for Aladdin. I think we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, he was quite unhappy, and then he never wanted to work with them again afterwards. Mm-hmm. I know. I think it had something to do with promotional or whatever. But
exactly. It had to do with the promotions, how they were going to use the genie.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. You know, the classic age of Disney films, you don't know any of those people. And I mean, I think that some of the best performances are from those early films. The woman who plays Ursula is freaking iconic. I forget her name, but she's not a very well-known actress, but she delivered. Mm-hmm. And that's what matters. The guy who did Hook, you know, like a lot of those old characters, they were fantastic and they really embodied the character. You don't really need Maya Hawke for this. I don't know. Like, you don't need Ayo Edebiri either.
You don't. I mean, especially for that role, because it was just like, girl, I guess get you $100,000, but
yeah, get the money. But like, you did nothing with that, essentially. Not your fault. She did a little bit more in the Teenage Mutant Turtles one, but I don't know. I would agree with you. And I think that a lot of these animation movies too, like the selling point being the actors who do the voicing, is not working for me anymore, essentially. Yeah. Like, it's not getting me to go there, and I don't care. And also look at Minions, the highest selling, I think, animation franchise after Toy Story or before Toy Story at this point. It's, Steve Carell is Gru, yeah, sure, but those Minions...
Oh, yeah, they're the stars.
They're the real stars. So.
I don't know who's making the voices, but according to The Atlantic, the point where we started going for voice actors to start having some fame, like having a name behind the actors, is Aladdin with Robin Williams. And then from there, we will start seeing more and more of these like celebrity names attached to movies. And yeah, sure, Pixar getting Tom Hanks and Tim Allen is I'm sure kind of just like set forth it broke open the wall. I mean, look at DreamWorks when they got Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz. Can I imagine that film without that roster of talent? It's hard. It's really hard, but I think it's not impossible.
Yeah. But then when we covered the Addams Family, did any of those people who were hired add anything to the film? Well, when we did The Grinch.
When we did Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so therein lies the issue where and that's not to say that all of Hollywood's voice actors don't have anything to bring. Like, sometimes you do. Sometimes having maybe that one star play a role just fits for these characters. I'm thinking like Hercules and James who played Hades.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know. It's James Wood. Great casting, right? And then you build the entire personality off of that delivery. But they also did have, though, what's his name? Danny DeVito as, Philatides. So I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think over relying on celebrity names is a misstep. So while Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader were great in their roles, like, give that... They were replaceable.
They didn't have the same effect, but like, I think it would have been stronger, a better idea if we start having like real voice talent, right? Like the E.G. Dailies, like where's her animated film?
This is true. Yeah. Like Dan Castellaneta or something.
Sure. From The Simpsons.
Yeah. I love him. I think he's a great voice.
He's good. Like, we have some good ones, right? That's why, I mean, I love Bob's Burger, right? But none of them were famous. So when they had the movie, though, like hearing them on the big screen, like these distinct personalities and stuff. But like, those are character actors. As far as I know, I don't know how much voice acting they've done outside of those roles. I know that H. John Hamm has done Archer. I think he did Archer first. I don't know about the other ones. Like, I don't know who the comedian who plays Tina. Is he going to be? Can he do anything else? No, probably not.
Yeah, yeah. The whole thing is built around his unique voice. So,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And Louise.
But yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is just like the movie Inside Out 2 is definitely part of that problem. Just like we just have celebrities doing voice work and stuff, and like, yeah, they're getting paid all this money. That's great, but like, we could. This is something that voice actors would be better suited for.
Absolutely. I agree. Although, it didn't stop people from seeing it. This movie had a similar budget to the first one. It was 200 million this time instead of 175 million. But as of today, June's not over yet, and this movie came out in June 10th. It's grossed $762 million at the box office. Very close to what the original film did. It's pretty crazy how well it did better than Dune Part 2.
I think, well, yeah, but I think people are starved for like something to go to the movies to.
I guess so, yeah. And I guess this was it.
Garfield massively underperformed for a family movie over the summer.
Furiosa massively underperformed.
But we kind of suspected Furiosa was going to underperform.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I don't think I really don't think that it was not a strong bet that it was going to do well, in my opinion. But yeah, but Garfield, but the reason I bring up Garfield is because usually family movies do pretty well, especially in the summer, and Garfield flopped hard. No one has talked about Garfield, as opposed to at least Inside Out, again, and this is only going to reinforce that wrong message for Hollywood, but like now, what Disney's going to see is just like, oh, the sequel worked. We need to keep making more sequels.
It's true. It is kind of like, it's great to see, but it's also kind of like, yeah, the message that they're going to take from that is going to be a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that seeing that the Kung Fu Panda 4, and the Godzilla and Kong also being among the highest grossing movies of the year is also showing that it's franchises.
Well, Denis Villeneuve did say, it's just like, I am disappointed that Dune 2 was, up until like a few weeks ago, the highest grossing movie of the year.
Yeah. Now it's Inside Out 2, yeah.
And now it's Inside Out 2. But like, I don't know. I mean, the state of, like, you're saying here, like, Inside Out 2, will it save Cinema? No way.
No way. I mean, I'm not saying that, but it saved the box office for sure. Like, it was not.
I don't know.
Like
I think the deficit is still pretty big, isn't it?
In worldwide or American?
American.
American, it did very well. I mean, I think that
no. I meant like the total, right? Like our numbers, right? We're comparing these to like last year's numbers, and because each year there's been a steady decline of gross revenue from theaters, right? And let me tell you why. I had the worst experience when I went to the fucking movie theaters to see this movie. All right, I sat next to a lady. It was a couple. There was a couple who brought their one toddler child and one baby, okay? And this fucking lady was filming her kid watching the movie. So I had the bright light of her phone as she's filming her baby watch Inside Out 2. And then she lets the toddler just run around. The toddler comes and tries to take my popcorn. I was just like, I never want to come back to the, yeah, I wanted to, if I wasn't at a kid's movie, I would have been, anger would have taken over. I would have been screaming at this couple. All right. Because the movie etiquette in this country has just gone to shit. And you know what? Take the fucking movie theater industry with you, because I'm done with it. I can't.
Wow. That is pretty terrible. I mean, that though is like a very unique experience.
No, it's not. It is not. That's the thing. It is not. I feel like every time I have gone to the movie theaters, the etiquette has just gotten worse and worse. And I know that this is a kids movie and I should have expected kids, but my God, rein in your children. Rein in your children. There's no way I would let my toddler just run around trying to take other people's popcorn.
Yeah, that's shame on you, parent. Shame on you. They didn't interject?
No, because they were busy fucking filming their fucking baby watching Inside Out. Damn. Thank God the baby at no point really cried. I was ready to go pull a Karen and go tell security and be like, you need to get this family out of here. Or give me a refund. Like,
Yeah, I would have just gotten that fucking refund, man. That's crazy.
Maybe I should have.
Maybe it's also the theater you're going to.
No, I think this is just indicative of just movie theaters in general.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, movie theaters are not. This isn't gonna like completely change everything in that sense. Movies are still down since the pandemic, but there's so many reasons for that. With streaming, with movies becoming available within like a month after being in theaters, and also with the prices, like you can't blame people.
Well, I know Disney's trying to put an end to that, right? Like Inside Out 2 is not going to be available on streaming for at least 100 days, is what Disney had announced.
Oh, really?
So they're trying to get people back into the theaters, right? And that's a smart move. I think if the goal of the studios is to get asses in theaters, you know, like you mentioned, one of the things that prohibits that is knowing if I could just wait, I'll wait a month and I'll stream it at home. Well, if I have to wait longer, maybe now that incentivizes me to go to the theater to check it out.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
So at least studios are thinking about this. And Inside Out just happens to be a good movie to do this with because it is a family movie and, you know, it's Pixar. Like, the worst Pixar movie is still probably better than, like, the best A24 movie. I don't know. Just like at least more enjoyable. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
like A24 they're great. Are they movies I want to see all the time? No. Give me a Inside Out 3 and I'll probably want to watch that over an A24 film.
That's true. I mean, I still very much enjoyed my experience. I saw like a matinee on a Sunday. It was packed and my movie theater experience was good as opposed to yours.
I don't believe you, to be honest. I think that you're blocking out all the negativity that comes with like the movie theater experience. You know, I want to ask your girlfriend because I feel like she has the real tea of like what happens in these theaters. And how
we've had bad experiences. I remember having a bad one for Haunted Mansion. I was like, it's fucking in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. This is ridiculous. But no, I don't remember one for Inside Out 2. But yeah, go ahead. You could ask her.
I will.
I still enjoyed it. And I do think that this was a nice return to form for Pixar. It's nice to see them making something that hits. Instead of just was like, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's just okay, but it's better than some of it definitely was of the sequels they've had, it's definitely been my favorite one, not counting the Toy Story trilogy original.
Yeah.
I think I like
better than Finding Dory.
I loved it way more. I did not like Finding Dory at all. And The Incredibles 2, which was fine, but like it was just not as good as the original.
Good. Yeah. No, absolutely. This was better than Toy Story 4. I really didn't like Toy Story 4.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's not.
But I kind of don't want to watch it because, like, why am I going to go revisit? Like,
exactly, was completely unnecessary, and they took the story in a direction they didn't need to. So, but there's going to be a Toy Story 5. So
there is, yeah,
which is ridiculous.
A Toy Story 5. I think there's also a Ratatouie 2 in the works.
I didn't see that, but that would be interesting.
Maybe I'm making that up.
Maybe I think you are.
But I don't think
it's one of the only properties that doesn't have a sequel. So
I don't think they have any upcoming like original movies.
They do. They have a movie next year coming out called Elio, but then it's Toy Story 5.
So. Okay, all right. What do we know about Elio?
It's about a boy who gets accidentally sent to like outer space and he becomes the ambassador for humans. But it's also actually a predominantly Hispanic cast, so that's nice.
No, that doesn't seem like it's going to interest me. It'll interest Eddie for sure.
Yes, this sounds very much up Eddie's alley. So you'll be seeing it.
I'll probably end up watching it, but
nice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, what do you think? Are you a big fan of Pixar? Are you a fan of these movies? What's your favorite Pixar movie? Anything you want to share with us? Reach out. Reach out by emailing us, remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram @remakesrebootsrevivals. Hit us up on Twitter @remakes_podcast. Search for us on YouTube and Facebook by searching for Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. And you can listen to episodes on YouTube. You can also listen on Podbean and on our website, remakesrebootsrevivals.com. And if you're listening on a podcasting platform, please go on over to that platform and give us a rating. And if it's Apple Podcasts, give us a review. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you guys. as always. So.
You do. And please, actually, I'm going to, Nicole, make this a social media clip. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your horror stories from the movie theater experience, because I'm done and I'm going to begin a campaign for change.
What is that campaign going to be, based upon?
Burn it all down.
That's the platform.
That's the platform. Burn it all. Or we need to start imposing fines on people who just have bad etiquette. Bring back bans or something.
Maybe you just need to go to Alamo Draft House. They do not tolerate that.
Where the hell is there an Alamo Draft House around here?
I don't know if there's any in New Jersey, but
then why the fuck would you recommend that, Nicole? How is that helpful? If there were an Alamo Draft House, I would sure check it out. But there isn't.
They're in New York.
I'm not gonna go that far. I'm not gonna go to Ratchet, Jersey City, Newport Mall, where the fucking rats have taken refuge. All right, because that's why that theater was closed for a while, because of all the rats.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Secaucus is not that much better. All I'm saying.
It's no longer Carasotes. This is a little.
It's Regal.
Sad. It's now Regal. Yeah. Carasotes had sold it, and it's now Regal. I don't know what that means for it, but I'm kind of bummed out. I did like Carasotes.
Yeah. I don't know if you'll have your Tuesdays anymore.
No, I feel like all theaters kind of do that.
I hope so.
Like AMC has a Tuesday. I think it has to be an accounting thing for the studios. So it's just try to fill in as many seats before they had to submit your numbers, I think on Wednesday. So that's my guess.
Your guess is as good as mine.
It's an
but all right, I need to lay down. I need to
What emotion is working your gears right now?
Disgust. Because I'm grossed out by my own sickness. Yeah, maybe.
Mine is
or
anger,
fear,
just because we were talking about the movie theater experience.
Well, that's what's always going. Apparently, that's who's in control of you. So
generally.
All right. Well, I shall see you guys later, and guys, we'll catch you in 2 weeks for the next episode. As always,
stay unoriginal. And enjoy your